Saturdays from 11 to 12.
Hey, this is Stephen Carr, psychologist and host of the Chapters Wrap Live. Each live show will bring on top-notch guests from the nonprofit world. We are the advocacy show that provides a platform for other advocates. So please tune in on your drive home from work to share your voice. The Chapters Wrap, where unity and diversity meet one chapter at a time.
Listen, Kicking Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb at 5, Voices for Change at 6, Reach Out with Ray and Steve at 7, and the Chapters Wrap at 8, Wednesdays, here on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
WTAN is the home of the Bitcoin Radio Show, heard each Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. Join Professor Robert Thomas and crypto coach Robert R. to learn the basics about buying, spending, and growing wealth with cryptocurrency. We all know that cryptocurrency is the future, and the future is happening now. So join Professor Robert Thomas and Michael R. this Saturday on WTAN and the rest of the TAN Talk Radio Network at 10 a.m. and make your future better than today.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
It's time for the Kelly Show on the TAN Talk Radio Network with your hosts Kelly and Doug Kelly. Kelly is an award-winning photographer and travel writer, as well as the publisher of the popular ColorfulClearwater.com blog. And Doug is the author of 3 published books and a contributing editor for Florida Sportsman magazine. Now, here they are.
All right. Well, if you've been a listener to our show over the past 4+ years, you know that we give a platform to those with events and charities, as well as business and political leaders in our community. I just said that before the show, as a matter of fact, to our first guest. Well, next week, we have a primary election on Tuesday, August 23rd, and you may have received a mail ballot already, or you can vote in person now up until Tuesday.
Republicans will be choosing their candidates and Democrats will be choosing theirs. And the winner of those races will square off in the general election on November 8th.
Right, Kelly. And independent voters can cast a ballot as well in nonpartisan races. So today we have 2 candidates in the Republican primary for the U.S. congressional seat in District 13 and for Florida's 58th House District. And we'll be asking each of them their thoughts on issues of relevance to our community. So stick with us for those chats because they could help you decide if their opinion matches yours, who to vote for, right? Before we get to that, Ed, the Bucks played the Miami Dolphins in a preseason game and lost 26-24. Big Ed Davis is with us today. He's the executive producer of the TAN Talk Radio Network and handling the control room for us, and our sports guru. First off, Ed, tell us what you think about that game and also the controversy over Tom Brady taking a break from the preseason practices and games to supposedly take care of personal matters.
As far as the game goes,
yeah. Well, it was close.
Snore fest.
Yeah, we missed a field goal at the end.
So the game started at 7:30, and I'm sitting in the press box, and the guys around me, I said, "Wow, 2 minutes to halftime. It's 8:20, which could be done. Halftime could be an hour."
Yeah.
I'm like, man, we're gonna be out of here by 9:30. It'd be great.
Right. Wrong.
Halftime didn't hit till 9:00, so it took 2 minutes off the clock on the game. It took 40 minutes just to sit there through it. It just. I always say, at least we're here. I feel sorry to people down there that paid $150, $200 to see a game that means nothing.
Ed, they're starving people in Africa, and you're worried about having to sit on your ass at the stadium for an extra hour.
And how much were those press tickets?
They were not.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, I feel sorry for those people that are sitting down there.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, we're in air conditioning. I know that. But how quickly
being fed grapes by a
it doesn't go that far.
Okay.
The Glazers added 3,500 seats
to
the end zone. Now I did the math on that. You know that equates almost $5 million in revenue for the season.
Good Lord, that equals your pay pretty much.
Yeah,
here at
minus
WTAN.
$4,999,000. Yeah, but anyway, it was pretty much a snore fest. And as far as Brady goes, the guys I talked to in the media, they all have their own concocted, opinions of what they think is going on. So whatever.
Well, I can tell you that he's not cheating on his wife because he's got
Holy cow.
He's got like a world-class fashion model.
That's right.
Giselle. She's a babe and a half. So it must be something important, probably related to some business transaction. You figure?
We don't know. We keep, one guy will say, well, what about this? What about this? The only thing that was very interesting is one of the players said, he's got his thing he's doing, blah, blah, and we're praying for him.
Praying for him. God, health care.
So that kind of leaked out. But I'm not sure that, because you can't really trust anybody. You have 4 people in the room. Somebody's going to leak it out. I'm not sure the players really know.
Yeah,
to tell you the truth, because if they know, they go out, they go party, and they'll say, by the way, and it's out. But nobody, we can't find anything.
Yeah, speculation.
We're looking under all the rocks and everything like that. Can't find it.
Is he going to be ready for the first game of the season?
Yeah, come on. He'll be back. He'll be back next Monday, back on the field.
Okay,
so,
all right.
It'll be fine.
That's reassuring. All right.
By the way, you can view us live on Facebook at the Kelly Kelly Show page, and our show will also appear on Tan Talk Radio's YouTube channel. Plus, there's a link to the podcast at internetradiopros.com.
That's right. Just click on the link. And we're coming at you live from a padded cell in the WTAN studio here in Clearwater, Florida. Actually, it's jewel-encrusted diamonds and emeralds and rubies everywhere, just everywhere. Before we get to our guest today, see if you know the answer to this question. What is the only U.S. state that is one syllable? We'll provide the answer right after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
In 1955, the law firm now known as Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes made a decision. Instead of taking whatever cases came through their doors, they decided to focus specifically on personal injury. 64 years later, the law firm is one of Clearwater's longest-running personal injury firms. Available 24 hours a day with offices in Clearwater and throughout Tampa Bay, they're ready to put decades of experience to work for you if you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or injured due to someone's negligence or recklessness. If you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure about your next steps after being involved in an accident or after a loved one sustained serious injuries due to someone else's negligence, call Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes at 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. That's 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. Non-attorney spokesman.
Ask any successful entrepreneur. They'll tell you that the fundamental way to grow a business is through strategic connections. Relationships drive business. Forming a solid network of reliable contacts is essential to your growth. And there's no better way to get connected in Clearwater than through membership in Amplify Clearwater, your Chamber of Commerce for Clearwater and Clearwater Beach. Amplify Clearwater is your first level of support. Membership affords you the opportunity to meet like-minded business owners you otherwise wouldn't have met. You'll be able to collaborate, network, support, bond, and do business with each other. Interested? Then visit amplifyclearwater.com. There you'll find all the information you need to make an informed decision and start the membership application process. Amplify Clearwater. One community, one chamber, one vision. Join today at amplifyclearwater.com.
Shop the largest selection of Guy Harvey apparel, artwork, and gift items at GuyHarvey.com. From the world-renowned marine wildlife artist, the Guy Harvey online shop features the latest in performance apparel, classic Guy Harvey t-shirts, decor for every room in your home, exquisite ocean-inspired jewelry, and unique gift items, including custom merchandise not available anyplace else. Browse an extensive catalog of original Guy Harvey works of art and a full range of beautiful reproductions. As with all Guy Harvey merchandise, a percentage of sales benefits the ocean conservation, research, and education work of the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation will help ensure that future generations can enjoy and benefit from a well-balanced ocean ecosystem. Bring the undersea world into your everyday life at GuyHarvey.com.
Do you know what a truly special blog is? It's a website that's rated as one of the best in Florida, chock full of fantastic articles, humor, videos, and hundreds of cool pictures. So what blog is creating all that buzz? It's ColorfulClearwater.com, a blog on the internet created by Kelly Kelly. In only its second year, ColorfulClearwater.com is gaining in popularity every day due to its original writing and original videos and photography. It's updated several times per week with fresh content and includes everything about the color, culture, and vibrancy of Clearwater's citizens and businesses. Even though it covers just one city in Florida, ColorfulClearwater.com nonetheless is already outperforming blogs promoting tourist destinations and major sports teams. Hey, see for yourself. Give a visit to ColorfulClearwater.com and make it your source of enlightening insights and entertainment. That's ColorfulClearwater.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
All righty. Well, thank you for sticking with us on the Kelly Kelly Show. I'm Doug Kelly with my better three quarters, Kelly Kelly. And our first guest today, let me back up. Before the break, I had asked a question, and that is if you knew the answer to whether there's a state in the U.S. that has one syllable, and there is. And
it's Maine.
It is Maine.
I knew that.
It is Maine. You knew that already?
I did know
You
that.
cheated and looked. That's what you did. All right.
Our first guest today is Kim Burfield, who's running in the Republican primary for Florida House District 58. Kim, first of all, tell us a bit about your prior service as a Florida House representative.
So I was honored back in 2000 to be elected to the Florida House of Representatives. It was the year that term limits took effect. So the freshman class was approximately 68 freshmen. So you can imagine the chaos that ensued around that. I would tell you it was one of the most interesting, challenging, and beneficial experiences of my life. It taught me that if you take the time to learn the rules, if you take the time to learn the processes that are outlined, that you can truly be successful. And I'll give you an example. We are all given a rule book. And I had gone through one night, read through the rule book, tabbed it, highlighted it. And I had the appropriations chair the next day come over to me and say, "What is that?" And I said, "That's my rule book." He says, "How much can I offer you for it?"
Oh my gosh.
So it became a joke between he and I as to that rule book. But it was a wonderful opportunity. It allowed me to serve my community where I grew up, went to elementary school, through high school, graduated from Clearwater High, go Tornadoes, and was able to return here. It is a community that has continued to call me back.
Now,
That's
during
awesome.
that time was during your tenure as a House of Representative House member back then. Who was the governor? Was it Charlie Crist or was it Jeb Bush?
So when I started, it was actually Jeb Bush.
It was Jeb.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yes.
And did you get to meet him and know him a little bit?
I did have that opportunity, and I actually enjoyed working with him. He was very policy oriented, and I will never forget. There was one day he called me and he said, "Do you have a minute?" And I thought, seriously? And he said, "I just want to talk to you about your bill." And I said, "Okay." And I thought it would be something very superficial, but it wasn't. He sat there and really talked about the policy that was tied to the bill, why there were certain things I was pursuing in a manner, what it meant to the community, and how it would also influence the state as a whole. So
Cool.
I thoroughly enjoyed working with
Very
him.
good. Well, how is your campaign shaping up?
It is going very well. We have been blessed 1,000 times over. As I mentioned, growing up in this community gives you natural and strong ties to it. We have, I think, from every community in this district, elected officials, community leaders who have endorsed us. And I think that really speaks about the opportunities that I've had, whether it be in the past or in the more recent past, with nonprofit organizations and community organizations to work with them.
Very good.
What area comprises District 58?
So as you know, redistricting took place this year. So it's one of those that's nicely gerrymandered. but somewhat compact. Basically, if you took McMullen Booth, the west side of McMullen Booth, went up to Curlew, and then took Curlew over to Belcher, brought Belcher south to 580 in Dunedin, took that over to the beaches and came down basically through the Bel Airs and then cut across, that predominantly makes up the district. So Clearwater, you've got a little bit of Dunedin, you have Bel Air Shores, Bel Air Bluffs. It is a wonderful area to have the opportunity to represent. And I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know different things that I may not have known before.
That's a great way to describe it. I perfectly could picture that. So, okay. So there are a lot of moving parts involved with running for elective office. Tell us about that.
So I think some of the things that we've really focused on as we looked at this campaign is we wanted to make sure people understood it was a community-driven campaign. So as I mentioned, we have been blessed by having some of our local elected officials who have supported us, a number of community organizations and leaders who have stepped forward and say they believe in who we are and where we're going. But I think it's also been exciting to work with the citizens, whether they're individuals who I've known for years or those who I'm just getting to know, where they come out, they sign wave with us, they walk precincts, all that fun stuff in this delightfully warm weather.
What endorsements do you have?
I'm sorry?
What endorsements do you have so far?
So we have, as far as individuals, we have Sheriff Bob Galtieri. We have Senator Ed Hooper. We have Representative Chris Latvala. We have the Mayor of Bel Air. We have Councilwoman Colleen Cheney of Bel Air, the town of Bel Air. We have David Gaddis. We have, I was trying to think, David Albritton. We also have endorsements from organizations such as the Florida Fraternal Order of Police. Sorry, that's a mouthful for me for some reason today. We, in addition to that, we're very fortunate to get endorsed by Florida Families Action Group. It's a very conservative organization and one that really has focused on some of the issues that are in front of our state and challenging us.
Very good. Good. Well, what issues do you feel are the most important to citizens in our community?
So I think there's a number of things that have continued to come up as we've gone door to door or met people where they've stopped me. I'm walking out of the post office and they say, "Aren't you Kim Burfield?" And that one of those I would say is insurance. Regardless of what you look at, homeowners insurance, the legislature did go back during special session 2D. They were able to address some of the challenges, but there's still about 2 or 3 that really need to be addressed, whether that deals with assignment of benefits or reinsurance. I think another issue is something we just saw about a week ago, where as close or local as St. Petersburg, they were looking at whether or not to put rent parameters or guardrails on how landlords could manage the rent. So affordable housing is something that has continued to grow. And the question becomes, how do we deal with that? Is it better leveraging the Sadowski Act? Is it looking at more inclusionary zoning where we try and balance that? I think there's a lot of questions that still lie around that. I think the other thing I would share is that as you look at these issues, they're not isolated. A lot of the times we will watch and people will say, well, this is the one issue I want to deal with. But the reality is normally it has a domino effect. So if you talk about affordable housing, it ties into workforce, which is a significant issue that we've also heard about as we've gone door to door. If you look at affordable housing, it's also the insurance. It kind of goes right down the rail where you start checking them off. Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm stuck on that insurance. Ours went from $1,800 to $4,700 until there's not much shopping to do around, but we managed to get that down.
Yeah, we did. You're right. It's
give me a heart attack when I open that envelope.
And it does.
And they cancel a lot of people too.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're talking to people who are working or living on fixed incomes, that is very difficult. It's scary.
Very true.
A friend of mine was telling me there was a young person who she had heard from. He and 2 of his friends had decided to go to college, They had decided to room together. They went in, they said, here's our paperwork. Well, there was a fourth room available in the school housing. And they actually placed an older gentleman who was about 68 or in his 70s in that housing complex with them.
Wow.
Because it allowed him to have some control over the rent issues and allowed him to control that housing cost.
What a great idea. Yeah.
So as we think about it, I think we have to think about creative opportunities like that as well.
Very good. Tell us about your educational background.
So my educational background, as I said, I was blessed to go to Clearwater High School, graduated from there. Then I was called over to the University of Central Florida. Don't boo me.
I would never.
I know you're a big Miami fan.
I would never think of doing something like that.
But I am a Knight, so charge on.
Yep. They've had some great football teams too.
I'll tell you, it
They've
has
done
become
really well.
very exciting in the last 5 years. There's no two ways about it.
Yep.
Milton did a phenomenal job as quarterback, kind of moving us forward from that standpoint, along with Coach Scott. So we're very excited to see what this season's going to bring us. So
absolutely.
I would tell you the last part of my educational background, while I was working in the Florida Department of Health in Tallahassee, I went ahead and pursued my MBA and received that from Northeastern. So a little bit of a diverse background and one that I'm very proud of.
Very good.
Well, what is your day job? What do you do on a regular basis? Because we know a lot of people don't know that state senators and state representatives is actually a part-time position.
Correct. So what my current position is I work with Johns Hopkins All Children's. I have the opportunity to work with what they call their community health and their government affairs. And when I say community health, people look at me kind of cross-eyed and say, what exactly is that? Is that public health? Really, it focuses on issues like bike and pedestrian safety, where we're educating young people and the families as to how we can help prevent injuries from happening. It also focuses on the community benefit requirement that nonprofit hospitals are now required to pursue, which allows us to really work with the community on issues that they have identified and said, we need help. These are where the gaps are. And so from that standpoint, it's a very rewarding position because it allows you, once again, to serve a community that you care about.
Right. And healthcare, it interweaves everything.
Absolutely.
Pretty much of all age groups. So that's something. Well, you're running against two other opponents in the Republican primary. Why do you think you're the best choice?
So I think the one thing that I bring to the table that is unique is experience. As you mentioned, I did have the honor of serving in the Florida legislature from 2000 to 2006. I then was fortunate enough to serve under two governors as the Deputy Secretary for the Florida Department of Health, which gave me a unique perspective from how our executive branch works, as well as how regulations really do impact individuals and businesses. Then about 11 years ago, I returned home and have been in the private industry relating to healthcare since then. So I think those three individual experiences really produce a very unique perspective that when taken back to Tallahassee can have an even more effective impact as we consider serious issues like health insurance, as we consider mental health, behavioral health is a huge issue that is facing us, or insurance.
Gotcha.
That's true. What things do you like doing on your time off?
So I'd say probably one of the things I enjoy doing most is spending time with family. I have been very fortunate. I have a wonderful family that the one thing I would tell you is we all have a very good sense of humor and we enjoy using it. I would share that I thoroughly enjoy, I'm very artistic, so I enjoy drawing, crafting, things along those lines, as well as reading. So those would probably be the three things. If you said, okay, you've got 2 hours, what are you going to do besides taking a nap? Right? I would say it would be one of those.
See, my ideal would be having a piece of chocolate cake and then taking a nap.
Okay.
So it's very similar.
But
very
then I might have to fix it, and I don't know that I want to actually have to cook it.
That's true,
If I can run to the store and get it,
well, tell us about your family. You've who are they? What do they do?
So I'm very blessed. Both of my parents came to Clearwater, brought me here when I was about a year old. And my mother had basically encouraged my dad to pick a location. They had moved quite a bit, and she had moved quite a bit growing up. And so my sister Christy was on her way, and my mom said, just pick a location. And so my dad, who worked with Oxy Chemical at the time, decided to stay in Tampa because of the port. And so this is where we grew up. And when I tell you I have seen the transformation of this community, I remember when McMillan Booth was a dirt road.
My gosh.
Orange groves out there. It's a very different type of a community than it is today. Does that make it better? It made it perfect for growing up. There was no choice.
It gives you a
about
good perspective, having that history pretty much of the area too. And knowing Tallahassee doesn't hurt any.
No, not at all.
And the practical way a bill works its way from being brought up and how it goes to committees and how it gets signed into law.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it's dealing with people, right?
Yes, sir.
When they have a bill, they talk to you. When you have a bill, you talk to them. And that process is not always easy if you have some people who dig their heels in and other people who are easier to work with.
I think one thing that I was fortunate to be a part of was that larger freshman class, because the individuals who were there at the time, who had been there for a period of time and were not term limited out, those individuals really gave us a taste or a appreciation for statesmanship. And when I say statesmanship, it's to your point. Okay, Doug, I really don't like this part of your bill. Is there any way we can work together on amending it? Kelly, listen, this is going to harm marinas on Clearwater Beach. I need to know if we could talk about doing something along these lines. It's having that communication that seems very logical and almost second sense. But unfortunately, I don't think we're seeing that quite as much as we have in the past.
Absolutely not.
I'd agree with you, but then we'd both be wrong.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. Compromise is everything.
Yes,
You don't always get
absolutely.
everything you want. But I guess you would be working with Governor DeSantis if he gets reelected. Have you had a chance to meet him at this point?
I have had an opportunity to meet him. I have had an opportunity to work with him, as I had mentioned, somewhat doing government affairs and tying into those activities. Gives you the opportunity to work with the governor and the presiding officers and, of course, their staff. So
Very, very good. Now, what happens if whoever wins a primary on Tuesday
correct?
will then face the Democrat opponent
Yes.
in the general election, which will be November 8th. So once you get over that hump, you've got another, several months of hard campaigning.
Yes.
So it's a tough process.
It is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
I had a gentleman who asked me, why in the world would you do this? And I can't imagine the challenges and the hurt that it causes for your family. And I shared with him, I think that in life, anything worth having is worth fighting for. And as we look at this, it really is a battle. It is about principles. It is about honesty. It is about standing by things that you're willing to talk about and fight for not just yourself, but for the community.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be congratulated because the rhetoric can get pretty nasty and vicious even
Yes.
out there. And it's not for the faint-hearted, like you said.
No.
So good for you. And I know you're fighting the good fight and working hard at it. And what's the contact info for your campaign for those who might want to help out?
So they can contact us in a couple of different ways. They, of course, can go to our website, which is www.kimberlyburfield.com, or they can go to hellokimberlyburfield.com, where they can leave us an email if they have questions. I think one thing that has been very exciting during this campaign is the number of citizens who have actually engaged, leveraged that resource, and reached out and said, tell us what you really think. We've seen these negative pieces. We've heard this. Tell us what you really believe along these lines. And I think that open line of communication is critical. So encourage anybody to to reach out and ask questions.
Unbelievable. Well, that's great. Well, Kim, good luck. Kim Burfield, again, a candidate in the Republican primary for House District 58. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to be back in a few moments with our next guest, but first, see if you can answer this question correctly. What is the only bird that can fly backwards? The answer right after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
In 1955, the law firm now known as Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes made a decision. Instead of taking whatever cases came through their doors, they decided to focus specifically on personal injury. 64 years later, the law firm is one of Clearwater's longest-running personal injury firms. Available 24 hours a day with offices in Clearwater and throughout Tampa Bay, they're ready to put decades of experience to work for you if you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or injured due to someone's negligence or recklessness. If you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or unsure about your next steps after being involved in an accident or after a loved one sustained serious injuries due to someone else's negligence, call Pernick, Caulfield, Averill, and Noyes at 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. That's 727-796-8282 or online at usalaw.com. Non-attorney spokesman.
These days, amidst supply chain issues, staffing crises, and rising energy bills, it's not easy to be a successful entrepreneur in Clearwater. For many, financial fears have led to sleepless nights. On top of that, many more have employees and customers that they're trying to protect and reassure. A monumental task when they themselves are struggling with burnout. We're all experiencing a lot of intense emotions. So where can you find safe harbor? At Amplify Clearwater. Amplify Clearwater is your chamber of commerce, and the name says it all. To make Clearwater larger, greater, stronger. Here you'll find like-minded members who are seeking opportunities to learn from each other, to collaborate, network, support, and do business together. Every business owner's goal in 2022 is to grow their business. If you need help, your friends at Amplify Clearwater are here for you. Submit your application today at amplifyclearwater.com/join.
Shop the largest selection of Guy Harvey apparel, artwork, and gift items at GuyHarvey.com. From the world-renowned marine wildlife artist, the Guy Harvey online shop features the latest in performance apparel, classic Guy Harvey t-shirts, decor for every room in your home, exquisite ocean-inspired jewelry, and unique gift items, including custom merchandise not available anyplace else. Browse an extensive catalog of original Guy Harvey works of art and a full range of beautiful reproductions. As with all Guy Harvey merchandise, a percentage of sales benefits the ocean conservation, research, and education work of the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. The Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation will help ensure that future generations can enjoy and benefit from a well-balanced ocean ecosystem. Bring the undersea world into your everyday life at GuyHarvey.com.
Do you know what a truly special blog is? It's a website that's rated as one of the best in Florida, chock full of fantastic articles, humor, videos, and hundreds of cool pictures. So what blog is creating all that buzz? It's ColorfulClearwater.com, a blog on the internet created by Kelly. In only its second year, ColorfulClearwater.com is gaining in popularity every day due to its original writing and original videos and photography. It's updated several times per week with fresh content and includes everything about the color, culture, and vibrancy of Clearwater's citizens and businesses. Even though it covers just one city in Florida, ColorfulClearwater.com nonetheless is already outperforming blogs promoting tourist destinations and major sports teams. Hey, see for yourself. Give a visit to ColorfulClearwater.com and make it your source of enlightening insights and entertainment. That's ColorfulClearwater.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Kelly Show. I'm Kelly. I'm here with my better half, Doug Kelly. And before the break, Doug asked, what is the only bird that can fly backwards?
And it's not Ed Davis.
It's not Ed Davis.
That's right.
True. So if you thought to yourself, hummingbird, you are correct.
That's correct. That was it. That's our teaser to keep you tuned in
That's right.
to the show. And we are now ready with our our guest. She's been here since Monday morning, waiting out in the waiting room for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about Florida's Congressional District 13, which covers most of Pinellas County. And after recently undergoing a redistricting is just about all of them. For those who are kind of plugged into the political scene, Charlie Crist decided not to run for re-election, and accordingly, it's an open seat.
That's right.
Amanda Mackey is running in the Republican primary for District 13, and voting by mail has already started, and in person has already started.
That's right.
And you can vote now up until Tuesday, August 23rd, which is a week from tomorrow. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Very good. That's all we had for you.
Okay. All right. I'll head back. Head back to the polls.
You have quite a compelling story as it involves your family escaping an oppressive country to come to America. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my family and I escaped a oppressive religious regime in Iran, and we escaped. We came to the United States. We came with nothing. This country welcomed us because we did it the legal way. Mm-hmm. And we waited 15 years to become citizens. When we came to the United States, my father, though a surgeon in Iran, couldn't get a job as a busboy here.
Oh my gosh.
But, my mother delivered yellow pages. She was a nanny. She put food on the table, a roof over our heads. And almost 6 years to the day that we legally immigrated to the United States, my father graduated from Georgetown University Medical Center as a surgeon. And he's a surgeon to this day. It's really, that's the American
fabulous.
Dream story, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to preserve for future generations, not what the Democrats are selling us on amnesty and breaking laws and entering the country legally. No, that's not what we want.
Wow, what a great story.
Well, you're being conversant in Farsi.
Yes.
Enabled you to work at the Pentagon. How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, I got involved in politics, and my resume came across, I guess the right desk. And they said, oh my gosh, there's someone who speaks Farsi, because Farsi is actually only spoken in 2 countries, really, 1.5, Iran and Afghanistan. The rest of the Middle East speaks Arabic. And so it's very hard to find Farsi speakers. But yeah, that's my unique skill set that I, gave to the country. Everyone gave something back after 9/11, whether it was through contributions, donations, whatever service to the country that they gave, that was mine. I went to the Pentagon, and I remember still smelling what the plane penetrating the E-ring of the Pentagon smelled like. And, I was 23, so I was very young, and, just kind of like, this is our country under attack.
Wow.
And it really just made me so proud to be an American.
Wow. Well, of course, what's cool too is that being able to speak and interpret and understand Farsi, you must have seen some pretty interesting intelligence reports coming through that you were translating. Is that correct?
Well,
without giving away anything classified.
Well, at the time, it was really, the focus was on what was happening on the ground. And so it was just a fascinating time to be there. It really was. And the things that you see working in the nucleus of our Department of Defense, it was just, for a 23-year-old to be there, it was still just so eye-opening for me on so many levels. But again, it was just my greatest honor to be able to do that. And, what happened to our country, we will never forget.
Right.
And I think, again, like I said, everyone contributed in the way that they could, and I did what I could.
Well, you also speak Spanish.
Yes, I do.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
La biblioteca está cerca de esta oficina, ¿no?
Yeah, sí, muy bien. So that's great to be able to converse with, because we have a lot of residents, a lot of citizens in Pinellas and throughout Tampa Bay.
Sure.
So that it's always nice to be able to speak. Do you speak any other languages?
No, I limit it to 3.
That's pretty darn good.
It is. Where'd you grow up in America?
So I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland, and not far from D.C. and county called Montgomery County. And my hometown is Potomac, Maryland, like the Potomac River.
Cool.
And that's where I grew up. I went to high school there. And then I went to the University of Maryland for undergraduate, Catholic University for law school. Worked, as I said, in the Pentagon and in Capitol Hill. I worked to stop Obamacare as a healthcare attorney. So I worked in Congress. And then my job, I was doing diabetes prevention and research, which I'm very proud of, being able to set up diabetes programs throughout the country. And those travels took me, not surprisingly, all throughout the United States, but a large concentration in the South.
So you actually then had service with the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives.
Yes, I worked in both the House and the Senate. So my sales pitch to voters is you don't hire the least experienced doctor, the least experienced lawyer. You hire the one with experience. I know where the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
I don't need on-the-job training. Send me to Washington and I'll right this ship. And I was lucky to learn from Bill Young when I was in Congress and watch the master of appropriations.
Yes.
And right now, more than ever, when you have a president of the opposing party, you need the Congress to be able to divert funds for the things that the opposing party doesn't agree with. They say, well, we don't need a wall. No, we do. We need to keep the homeland secure. And that's what appropriations does. That's the power of the purse that Congress only has.
Yes.
And no one knew that better than Bill Young.
Yep. And so you walk those halls.
Yes.
So you don't have to be oriented like anybody else would be, like a newcomer.
That's right.
And you lived in the area.
And I lived in the area.
So
and
no culture shock for you.
No. And it's really important. You know, I have campaigned on term limits. I believe in term limits because Washington is a very corrupting place. And, you know, some people go there and they make a career out of it and they don't leave. I think that there needs to be a finite time for people. Go there, do the job that you told the American people you do, told your constituents you do, and then pass the torch. Pass the torch.
Yeah. You know, being an elderly person myself.
Oh, stop.
I seriously think once people get, frankly, into their 70s and 80s, and they've already served 20, 30, 40, 50 years it's more than enough time. To pass the torch, as you said, let new ideas come in, more energy, fresh approaches. I think term limits make absolute sense.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
I've signed the term limits pledge, and I always say, hold me to it, you know, because I really believe in it.
What would those limits be?
So Governor DeSantis introduced legislation, a constitutional amendment, when he was in Congress with Senator Ted Cruz, and that was 6 terms in the House, 6 terms in the Senate.
The 12 years.
12 years. 12 years.
And in the Senate?
It would be 6. I'm sorry, 2. Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say 12 also.
12. Yes, I didn't mean to say 6.
Right.
And 6,
Senate is 6 years service and House
that
is 2
sounds
years.
like a good amount.
Yeah, 12 on each. You know, I mean,
give it your all.
Give it your all. You know, make a difference, but do the things that you campaigned on. Wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air when Congress's approval ratings at 6%? Who's the 6%? Family members?
And you know, when somebody, they're making a decent salary, what, 180,000 or something like that. But then after 20, 30 years, they're worth 15, 20, 50, $100 million. You know, even if it's legitimate investments and whatever, you're taking advantage of your constituents and your lobbyists and everything else.
Well, you know, the idea the founding fathers did not have was go to Washington, get rich off the backs of taxpayers.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you and me. That was not their intention.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Your background as an attorney and political strategist has given you the expertise to appear on national networks.
Yes. I was on Newsmax for quite some time. Actually, right when I lost the primary last time, I went on Newsmax, and then I kind of became on Newsmax a lot because of my work in Wisconsin as an election integrity attorney for the recount for President Trump. So I spent a lot of time on Newsmax talking about election integrity because Americans in general, they don't just have to be Republicans. They were very focused on this issue. It was a very live wire issue for a long time. And so I got to talk a lot about that, talk about my experience there and really what we saw, because we were the eyes there, the Republican lawyers were. But also I've spent time on Fox News and others and written, and surprisingly, even when I've bashed Biden, Tampa Bay Times has covered me and let me do op-eds. I'm shocked still.
Right.
But, I like to be a voice for the conservatives, and I have been for 20 years fighting for conservative causes and crisscrossing this country every 2 years to make sure our elections are free and fair. And what we saw in 2020 scared me very much.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that I want to fight for in Congress is that we have voter ID laws minimally in all 50 states. That's a starting point.
Yeah. It makes no sense to have to show your ID for everything except something as important as who our leaders are.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense to just let anybody vote and vote. What is that old expression? Vote early and often. So we don't like
That's
that.
right.
Well, besides
right.
voter registration and issues, what other issues do you think are the most critical, and your positions on them?
Sure. The southern border, I was in a debate that my opponents did not come to. So it was me and a libertarian candidate and another candidate, and we had very different responses. But me and the conservative candidate said the southern border is the biggest issue facing our country insofar as a national security issue, because you have a wide open border on the southern border, thousands of miles that have not been completed of wall. You have all the materials sitting right there. I've been to the border wall, so I can tell you this from firsthand experience. But then you have what happened here in April, which was you had a person on the known terrorist watch list in Pinellas County, in fact, in Clearwater.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so you think, okay, our homeland is not secure. It's not. And our border wall being wide open, we have got to build the wall. Americans feel very insecure about their homeland security. And, they want to put 87,000 more IRS agents at the IRS, yet we have 20,000 on the border. I mean, it's ludicrous when you think about what the Democrats are pushing. So we've really got to make sure that we have Republicans in office who are going to push for what we want and what we believe, and not just go there and be part of the problem.
What's hypocritical too is for somebody who has a mansion with a fence and security guards
Right.
and guard dogs and alarm
And Secret
systems
Service.
and Secret Service protection who are heavily armed to say they don't work, walls don't work. Well, if that's the case, take down your own walls, right?
It's awfully rich of them.
That's really crazy. That's crazy. What other issues besides the border would you say are important? I know all of them are, but
yeah.
Most critical.
Yeah. And I think that right now with inflation, you can't, turn a blind eye to what's happening to people here in this community. I mean, we are one of the top inflation rising areas in the country. Housing prices, affordable housing is not within reach of people.
Yeah.
And you can't have people working in Clearwater at the restaurants, on the beach, at the bars, and living in, Hudson or, an hour away because the cost of gas is so expensive.
Yeah.
So, it's really a struggle for people. And it's the middle class that's hurting because they live on a fixed income,
Sure.
as do retirees. And so what do? Senator Rick Scott says you need to have $370 more per month to be able to live the way you lived in 2021.
Wow.
Prior to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And so how does someone who's 80 years old make up that $370 a month? And that's what they need to live. And so inflation is a huge problem. So here's what we'll do. We will stop the printing presses of Washington. That needs to stop. We will stop borrowing, and we need to claw back money from programs that we have spent and allocated resources to that probably aren't spent, i.e. COVID programs, COVID relief programs. We've had 6 of them. And I'm sure the money has not been spent. We've spent billions and the money has not been spent.
Well,
so why don't we claw that back?
Just like individuals, if you run up your credit cards, the banks don't give you more money.
No, they don't.
But if you have the ability, like you said, with a printing press, we'll just press another couple $1 billion and $100 billion, $500 billion, and it's not going to make any difference. Well, it does.
Right.
And who's going to pay for it? Everybody.
Everybody. All
Not
of us.
even inevitable.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Somebody has to.
My daughter and her husband have a 2-bedroom apartment in Tampa. They were paying $1,600 for that. Now it's going to be, they raise it up to nearly $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like that for everybody.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It has been. And again, we've experienced the highest rate of increase in housing costs and rental costs in America. We beat out Phoenix last month.
No kidding.
And so Tampa used to be affordable. When you talk to people and say, well, where'd you move from? And they say, oh, I moved here because it's affordable. It's not affordable anymore.
No.
And that's the scary part for so many people. And again, it's not just the retirees, it's the middle-class Americans who are just trying to make ends meet. But again, going back to those IRS agents, I want to be on the appropriations committee. And the great thing about the appropriations committee is that you steer money. And if you can make sure that you're steering money away from 87,000 IRS agents and moving that to the border, that's a good thing.
Right.
And that is actually something we can do despite having a Democrat in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Well, what endorsements do you have?
I have 13 mayors who have endorsed me. Very proud of that here in Pinellas County. Yeah, so Clearwater's mayor, Frank Hibbard. We have the mayor of Largo, Woody Brown, mayor of Seminole, Leslie Waters, all the beach mayors. And so I'm very grateful for that. But again, I think it speaks to people in those positions wanting someone in Washington who will help them. I think about our veterans every day because we made a commitment to them. And I think, oh gosh, we just sent $40 billion to Ukraine, but we have veterans who are sleeping under bridges. That doesn't make sense. And I want to make sure that the services at the CW Bill Young Center are there for them. Bill Young's family and his widow have endorsed me because they want me to carry on, as big as those shoes are to fill, but to help carry on the legacy for the veterans and making sure that we care about the veterans. So I'm very blessed to have their support. SEAL PAC, a pro-veteran PAC, though I have not served in combat. They endorsed me because they believe in my leadership skills and my service at the Pentagon.
Fantastic. Well, if you get elected, we, of course, here at the Kelly Kelly Show, will take full credit for that.
Absolutely.
And I would expect a lot of, what do they call it? Payback.
Payback.
I want a street named after me. I want my Lamborghini.
How about the Biblioteca? We'll name it after you.
Del Signor Kelly. There you go.
For those of you who don't know, that means library.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Where's the library? That's right. That's cool. Well,
what's the contact info for your campaign?
Amanda Mackey, MAKKI.com, AmandaMackey.com. My phone number, you can text me if you'd like, is 727-378-2327. Love to hear from folks. If you'd like a yard sign or a t-shirt, we'll be happy to get one to you. Folks, go out and vote. You hear people complain, but when it comes time to voting, they say, oh, I forgot. Someone should have reminded me. No, folks, that's on you.
Yeah.
Veterans have fought and died to give us the greatest country on earth and to give you the right to vote. Please go vote.
Absolutely.
August 23rd, Tuesday, August 23rd.
It is so important. And you can actually still vote in person.
Yes.
And you can go to
Largo, 13001 Starkey Road in Largo, right before Ulmerton. You can go to Clearwater on Court Street, right downtown. You can't miss the signs. And then downtown St. Pete on, I believe it's 2nd Street. So they are on my website. You can see that there. On my Facebook, you can see that there. But if you go to the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections or call them, 727-464-VOTE, they will give you that information as well.
And if you aren't able to do that, go out Tuesday and vote.
Tuesday
go
to your local precincts. Your local precinct, you can vote on Tuesday. I'm Amanda Mackey. I'm asking for your vote. If no one else has asked for your vote, you should vote for me.
Well, Amanda, if you do win the primary next week and win against your Democrat opponent in November, I'm certain you'll be an excellent member of Congress.
Thank you
There's
very
no doubt
much.
about that. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And we'll keep an eye on what happens. We'll be watching the polls, as you will, very, very closely Tuesday night come next week. So take care of yourself and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Well, Kel, we need to thank our guest today.
All right.
Let's do it.
Thank you to Kim Burfield and Amanda Mackey.
All right, absolutely. Yes. And again, that's Mackey, M-A-K-K-I.
Yes.
What was your contact info again?
727-378-2327. And you can text me on that or Amanda@AmandaMackey.com.
Excellent, excellent. And we'd like to thank also a couple of people who help us out. They do a promo ad for our show every day. Guy Harvey, the marine artist extraordinaire. Coach Jimmy Johnson, who coached the Dolphins and the
Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys to 2 Super Bowls, the University of Miami to a championship. And
Wade Boggs.
And Wade Boggs, the baseball Hall of Famer, who lives right across the way there in Tampa, as a matter of fact. So he won a pennant, actually a World Series with the Yankees. So, Kel, what is our
verse for today is Psalm 46:5. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved.
All right. And today the inspirational message is build your own dreams. Otherwise, someone will hire you to build theirs.
Oh.
So on behalf of Kelly Kelly, Big Ed Davis, thanks for joining us. And tune in every Monday at this time and station for another edition of The Kelly Kelly Show.
On Tan Talk Radio. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. for Tampa Bay's newest and most entertaining show.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyrhills.
FM 104.3.